Hey, welcome back. Mike Burris here with Spirit Music Meetups. We're videotaping all these old dreams and visions. This was on October 23rd, 2020. Dreams of church legalists versus the spirit flow kind of joy, and Twitter being exposed. Now, this is a long time ago. It's amazing what has happened in the news about Twitter since then. They've been exposed. God's telling me this 2 years ago. Elon Musk exposed them. 50% of all Joe Biden's accounts were robots. They're fake. So there were earlier parts to the dream that I said I would not forget. But I was so tired and rushing to work that I did forget. But this part is clear. I had just finished playing music and I felt happy. In the dream, I had cleaned up and wore a white long sleeve shirt with an irregularly shaped black pattern on it, buttoned down with a V-neck. Even though it was buttoned down, it had a V-neck, sort of like a martial arts gi. It was in the martial arts. This was my performance shirt. I sat at a small, round, dark brown planning table in a room at a church. I believe it was a meeting about the worship service following. I've been in 15 worship ministries. So on my left was a tall, middle-aged woman sitting very straight, finely dressed, who calmly condescended and criticized me. Quote, "Your shirt is wrinkled and you aren't dressed appropriately. We must be decent and in order," end quote. However, the younger Chinese woman, who was casually dressed, smiling and friendly, kindly said that actually I was very appropriately dressed because her Chinese people in the congregation were common villagers, and my smock was their common attire. I wanted to run from the lady on the left, but I felt captivated by the one on my right. Then I saw an old woman, full of joy, leaning up against the wall with two men, also casually dressed. I couldn't get over the joy that was coming from her. Her. Then I saw myself stepping in for a friend of mine, John Bujak, to take over drumming with a fantastic sounding band in worship. That's my wife making power shake, I guess. He was messing with my bass drum. I used to play at House of Bards, great music place, and he was always setting up the sound equipment. He was messing with my bass drum, patting it to get good sound. At first, I just played something simple to sync with the band, but once I found that sweet groove they were in, the embellishments just flowed from me effortlessly. When I woke, I wrote this dream down. I understood the voice of the old way of religious over-planning to put on a perfect show to honor God. I've heard this so many times. So, of course, looks were paramount. So that was the left. The woman on my left was actually critical and judgmental, just as the old covenant law is. I've played in 37 bands, and 80% of these of the 15 church bands were much like that, worse than my many secular bands. Terrible witness. They were focused on their might and power they could bring to God, for God. Okay, so this is a powerful dream. The greater among them, the so-called leaders, they appealed to the greater among them, not to the least among them. Looks were very much did not matter. Looks very much did not matter for the least. Okay, so what is this saying? They were so far focused, these places I worshipped at, they were so focused on their might and power that they could bring to God, for God, right, to honor God, That's what they were focused on. The greater, so-called, among them, the so-called leaders, there's a link for this. So you want to go to the page. They appealed, that's what they were in there for, to the greater among them, not to the least among them. And looks very much did matter. Okay, so see, to the greater among them, looks really mattered because they were appealing to the greater among them, not the least among them. So, like the Chinese commoners, they were the least among them. The young Chinese woman and the old woman full of joy, who both spoke for the commoners, the least among us, that's a link, both were the Holy Spirit. Wow, this is amazing. And the former was evidently very concerned for the underground Christian Chinese people. So the Holy Spirit can be different people, and they were both she's, by the way. Ruha in Hebrew is feminine, and so is wisdom and understanding in Greek and Hebrew are both feminine, and that's what the Holy Spirit is called, wisdom and understanding in Proverbs. So, and they use pronouns her and she, referring to the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit's feminine. I wanted to be by her. I wanted to be both by this old woman and this young woman. The two men with the older woman were Jesus and the Father, but I only looked at her, though I saw that all three were compassionate, informal, and full of joy and kindness. Wow. Regarding my playing, it flowed by the Spirit when I rested from trying or even thinking about the audience or sounding good. I zoned out in the beauty and joy of the worship. I was just being. It was awesome. The more I think about this, it's Zechariah 4:6 about the new covenant versus the old covenant. When God says it's no longer by might nor power, but by my Spirit. So I fell back asleep to get more prophecy, and I saw the words, Twitter exposed. And I thought, that was odd. So I looked up again. I looked again, right? But this time, it says Twitter exposed. Oh, expose. Maybe it's expose. And I thought that was odd. So I looked up again, but this time I saw Twitter exposed. I read later today, Twitter and Facebook are being called before the Senate next week. Well, a lot has happened since then. I think they've both been in front of Congress many times. A lot of interrogation. Twitter and Facebook really under the gun, really under the magnifying glass. And now Elon Musk just completely, there's expose, there's whole writings, there's whole news articles about Twitter. And just so much written about Twitter now. Wow, here it is, February 26, 2021, creating this page. And we can see how Twitter and Facebook certainly have been exposed in coming against almost anybody for the Republican Party, period. They canceled the Republican Party of Arizona. They just deleted their website, their Facebook page. It's amazing. And certainly anybody for Trump. I mean, and against anybody questioning the legitimacy, right? And wow, Facebook and Twitter, and the legitimacy of Biden, or many Democrats that are in office. You know, wow, they're censoring, they're even removing people's accounts, even the president's account, even the press secretary's account. I believe this will cause them to lose a lot of money, because there's a lot of people out there that are very well read and very well researched and know the truth. And they're going to wait a second, you can't buffalo us. We know better than this. You can't do 1984 George Orwell on us. Nope, can't do it to us. We're too well informed. I believe they will lose so much money as the public becomes wise to all this, and eventually they will go broke. They'll be broken up. by violating antitrust laws and the Constitution, especially regarding free speech. There's a lot of ongoing investigations, and there will be more. People are getting Pulitzer Prizes out of this thing. So I can't wait to see the truth. The Lord said the truth is going to come like an avalanche. It's a snowball effect. It's going to come like an avalanche that will shake the earth. You know, the truth always eventually comes out. It takes a while. The truth about organized crime, Al Capone, China's leaders, Russia's leaders, North Korea's leaders. The truth always comes out against Hitler, against Mussolini. You know, it comes out. Eventually, it all comes out. You know, and you can try to rewrite history. And it looks like there's some videos on how there's a lot of rewriting of the internet. There's a massive amount of propaganda and rewriting history, trying to eliminate facts, trying to clean up the breadcrumbs. This is very disturbing. Wow. So can't wait to see what you guys have maybe heard from the Lord, studied on your own. Put it down below, but you got to work within the guidelines of whatever you're hearing this video on. So there's different platforms, and you can go out and look at the text. The text is on WordPress. It's the website I have, and so that is open free speech. So the designers of the internet said they never anticipated the censorship of free speech. They never saw it coming. They said, well, that's why we created the internet, so that nobody could control it. No one source could control it. But it looks like they found a way to do that. These massive platforms, these big tech platforms. So I'm looking at the next one. All right, let's look at the next one. Bye-bye.